instead of trying to respond directly to the argument against what I was saying about what brain science proves concerning objective morality, I'm going to try to point out why we are inevitably doomed to disagree with each other just by virtue of the fact that we're speaking different languages. I'm taking the perspective of a psychologist, which sees the human being as a complete psychic being, meaning, there are bodily elements, emotional elements, unconscious elements, instinctual elements, intellectual elements, symbolic elements, linguistic elements, that all play a role in what we call a human being. And to think that one of those faculties of the psyche could ever be in control of all the other faculties, it's an illusion. And psychoanalysis, I guess, is really the response to the kind of objectivist stance that some intellectuals might take. The stance characterized by the Enlightenment and positivistic science that thinks that the world has a true objective rational order to it that can be represented in human terms, such that humans could literally speak the truth. If not right now, at this moment, with the current scientific understanding of reality, one day it will be possible. That kind of a worldview was kind of torn down by psychoanalysis, or it tore itself down because it led to fascism and to world wars. And I'm not accusing you, Gary, of being a fascist or a Nazi. I'm just saying that the glorification of intelligence and blind rational order it's almost exactly it's totalitarianism, which is monotheism at an even more extremist level than even theism is. It's still a religion. It's a belief as a psychic being, which inevitably is an emotional being as much as an intellectual being or any other kind of being. It's impossible. Every intellectual assertion of that kind of a being has an emotional unconscious. The ego, which is that's the point of view of the transcendental subject that is able to remove itself from all bodily experience, which means no longer somehow is it even a product of the human brain. It's somehow outside of all of that biological corruption, able to view reality from the outside. That is exactly a rationalization. It's an ego trying to make something explicit and literal, and in so doing repressing an emotional desire for exactly the opposite. The ego is not the master of its own house. And an ego, an intellect, a rational knower of an ordered known is always it's a complex. It's a psychological complex which involves the repression of emotion, intuition, instinct, feeling, all the sensing faculties in favor of the conceptual faculties and the linguistically, almost mathematically inclined faculties that are, very left-brained, more about order than chaos and control than creativity. And I'm not saying creativity and chaos and totally aesthetic indulgence is always better than intellectual ordering and logic. I'm just saying both of them always exist as part of our experience. Even when we're taking, here's the problem with objective morality. I've never seen one. It's just this abstract theory of a possibility that might exist for human beings if only we are bold and noble enough to assume the responsibility of controlling the beast, as you put it. Will we ever actually be capable of this? So you're leaving the possibility open, but you're not offering an objective morality. You're not actually prescribing a real, a literal way. You're not speaking the literal truth. You're just saying there could be one if only, we could separate the intellect from the rest of the body, from emotions and all of that. And, you said that, we're corrupted by emotion, and that, the objectivity of intellectual knowledge, of that kind of a scientific perspective committed to truth, is somehow brought down by being just forever intertangled with emotion. And I don't think it is. I don't think that emotion is a corruption. I think the inability to think rationally without emotion, it's not a handicap. It's actually a very positive thing, because emotion keeps the imagination grounded. It keeps the imagination, I guess, is the bridge between our emotional, instinctual feelings, our roots in nature, and our dry, spiritual, intellectual, logical mind. It bridges the gap. Because, like I said in my other video, I think emotions are primary, and we sort of build this intellectual edifice on top. We assume a perspective based on these emotional nudges that we're unconscious of as intellects. We think we're in control as an intellect of these emotions, when really it's not the other way around so much necessarily as it is. They're just, emotions and intelligence are just so integrated that you can't really separate one or the other and offer either side control. It's not a controlled relationship. Control can't exist when there's no separation between these two faculties. No real separation, in the sense that a psychic being is always whole. You can never have a right brain without a left brain. It can never be completely ordered. You can't be a completely rationally objective, intelligent person, because, if you are, then you're repressing the inherent irrationality of certain aspects of life, like birth and death, and you can't rationalize those things. You can only have an emotional attitude towards them that's sort of, you can't base it on anything empirical. It's got to come from inside, because you don't experience your own birth. You don't experience your own death, at least, certainly. In rational terms, you can't make sense of these legitimate and undeniable aspects of life, of being a human being. So we're forced, inevitably, to consider emotions in all of our decisions, no matter how objective we think those decisions are.